Time to get some extras. Yay! Remember the part 1 and 2 and 3 that ended as a did for the iceberg explained at this point? Well, I found out this iceberg and I found out it doesn't have been fully explained. Here's the 3 parts of the extras. Here it is. One of them is, the ancient Olympics, which includes the Olympics hijacking and even the Nero. One of the there's 2 Roman empires, Roman emperors I meant. If it, one time the Olympics did got hijacked to one of the Roman emperors. One point to the held in the Roman Empire on Rome at the time. It is related to the Rome's curse to the hosting Olympics at the time, because the Olympic hijacking at the time is made by the Roman Emperor. They ended up hijacked the Olympics away from Olympia to held in Rome at the time at this point. And then and then got Nero. Nero kind of cheated his own self in the ancient Olympics. Well, in the ancient Olympics, this is not supposed to see in the modern games. They first held in 1896 in Athens. Yeah, Emperor Nero was technically the first ever Olympic cheater. Yeah. Instead of horsepower held carriage by hauling like is it 2 horses or 4 horses? Can't remember. Is he hauled like 8 or 9 horses, and he's also a singer and a painter too. And he's his own sort because he lost because he's a little bit he's a Roman emperor at the time because he's Nero. He forced everyone to win gold and let him win gold every time. Well, because of that, after the ancient Olympics gone away because Theodosius and some sort, and the Greek gods just do not want it anymore. Nero's name has been wiped off from history, which is might be for the best. And next up is the Cancellation Olympics. The only 2 times the Olympics has been cancelled is one number's in 1916. It was held in Berlin at the time, but it's canceled to tribute to World War One. And then they got the 2 winter games and 2 summer games in 1938 and 1940 has been canceled. Tribute to World War Two. Yeah. Those are known as Olympic cancellations. Tribute to the 2 world wars, and let's see why. Next up is 1948 surprise. 1948 held London Olympics at the time. The first Olympics after the first Summer Games after World War II. It was held in Britain and it caused the appearance of all the dominions in the games for the first time ever. It was one of the greatest times in post-war era, which is pretty good at the time. And it makes sense either way. Well, read this. Well, the next up is the Winter Olympic cheating. Winter Olympic cheating is the end that relates towards 1994 trip up and caused a fake injury, caused the arrest of not only one of the male competitors and the one athlete, also a couple of Georgia's officials as well related to the causing this, and also this other chain too. There's a whole list in there, and I'm not going to talk in details and of some sort. Anyway, hold on for a minute. Next up is kind of surprising and They never mentioned this at all in the iceberg. Is where it is the Salt Lake City bidding scandal. Salt Lake City bidding scandal is caused by bribery that is within Salt Lake City Olympic Organizing Committee within Quebec City Organizing Committee forced Quebec City to lose the sponsor because of the bribery. Yeah, the IRS, yeah, Salt Lake City Olympic Organizing Committee bribed not only Olympic officials, but also the Quebec City officials too, caused them to lose so many things of sort. They bribed so much in Salt Lake City. Speaking of Salt Lake City, next up is, you guessed it, Salt Lake City 2002 post 9/11 opening ceremonies. Yes, the raising of the Olympic U.S. flag held it the same flag at when the Twin Towers fell back on 9/11. Rose at the time. If you're watching the 2002 opening ceremonies held in Salt Lake City, you can tell already. It's a, to tell already. The raising the U.S. anthem is based from the same flag that they held up by the one in the Twin Towers in New York City, transferred right over to Salt Lake City when they went into open ceremonies, and even told a moment of silence so that because of remember the people who died in the middle of 9/11 in that day. It was sad, but also very heartwarming too, which is to see what it looks like. Another one is Olympic venue abandonment. Yes, Olympics is taking poor care of all the venues at the post Olympics. And so something to see is too. Instead of just help using the venues there, they abandon the venues and they lead them to rot. It's a good example, and they see it a lot in Athens 2004 and Beijing 2008 with their venues. Even the Aquatic Center in Rio also got abandoned. A lot in the story starting in disrepair. And there's a scene that's one. Next up is a Bosnian War. How's this ability to the Olympics? And who this? Back in 1984 Winter Olympics held in Sarajevo. It held the Olympics during the country known as Yugoslavia at the time. After the war ended, things to the breakup of Yugoslavia at the time, in the concept known as Yugoslav Wars, and Sarajevo was once at the time a huge battleground of at the time of the Bosnian War, and it destroyed a lot of the used to be 1984 Olympic venues. It went farther than the ski jumps is again in huge beyond repair, and in this Boston track, at the end of it, so many bullet holes and mines that they declared unsafe. Which this seems pretty scary, but this is a reality of the venues at the time. It is been hunted down by you guessed it, in the wartime issues. Yeah. Next up is the Troy Winter Olympic bribery scandal. Yeah. If you've been hiding on these rock, no one's didn't even know about this. I guess no one's been hiding rock about this. Here's the detail. Back in the Troy Olympic bids, Istanbul and Madrid has been bribed bribed to the India bids to become candidates. And I found out recently Tokyo 2020 won the Olympics also by bribery, and the caused issues was still going on right now with Sapporo because the discovery of the Tokyo 2020 has been bribed the games to hold there. The bribery is the issues of bribery is still pretty much on these investigations still to this day of all three sides. That is all the candidates in 2020 Olympic bid all bribed to be in the bid. And Olympic bribery is illegal. They're told already. And they're telling the part two right now. Stand by.